Well, I think I'll go ahead and start with introductions, and then we're a small group, but we're still going to have fun tonight. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to give a couple of introductions, and then we'll see if anybody else comes in, but we'll go ahead and start with introductions. So let me, next slide, Miss Thomas, if you don't mind. Okay, so tonight's presenters, we have Miss Lackey, she's sixth grade reading. Miss Gary, sixth grade writing, because you can't write if you can't read, and vice versa. We have Mrs. Thomas, seventh grade ELA, and then I am Mrs. Gritty, and I'm eighth grade ELA. And we just want to talk about literacy tonight. And we put the lit in literature. We have fun teaching literature. So, why literacy? So, when we talked about doing this, so first of all, we're recording this, so hopefully we can send this out to more parents who weren't able to join us tonight. But because I know we have busy schedules, myself included. My 10-year-old's in here running around. So, but why literacy? In profound ways, literacy is destiny. It is the single most important goal of schooling and the key to academic and career success. So we know at the base of all success in life, really it comes down to literacy. I mean, it enriches our life. It helps us increase our educational and career opportunities. This is proven. The better we can read, the more chances we have available to us. It empowers us. It gives us the ability to learn more and more, and it fosters good communication. And I think probably one of the things we work the most with on our kids is how it builds empathy towards other people who are not like them, and helps us develop and deepen relationships with other people. And books are fun, right? They're mirrors, windows, sliding glass doors, stepping stones, overcoats, anchors, springboards, escape hatches, quiet corners, warm blankets, flying carpets, and beacons to new readers. So this is why, of course, we're reading teachers. I tell my students this all the time. So of course we love reading, but this is why we want everybody to love reading, because of all of these things that make books so wonderful. And really in times like we're dealing with right now, it's an escape to really go to a new world and have an escape. And we've got some other really good testimonies coming up of people who it's been a lifesaver for them as well.
So what does this look like here at Blalack? We follow the reading and writing workshop model. So the reading workshop model in a normal year follows this format of having a mini lesson that is 5 to 10 minutes long, followed by a very long stretch of independent reading where students choose their own books and then read during that time. Then we have, during that independent reading time, the teachers are pulling kids for small strategy groups, conferences, and students are taking notes in their journals. We usually close with a share. Kids are either in partnerships or book clubs, talking about their books, asking questions, and just sharing what they loved about reading. Each grade level covers units of study for reading different genres. So throughout their careers at Blalack, they have covered basically every genre you can think of. This year, it looks a little bit different. Mini lessons may be pre-recorded. They could be live. Independent reading is similar, except that for the sharing and strategy groups, we will use breakout sessions and digital conferences. Students have online journals, so we leave feedback in chat that way. Same thing with the share. Sometimes it's done via Canvas, like in a discussion question, or whole group and WebEx breakout sessions. And that's about the same. Everything else curriculum-wise has not changed. So here is just a video from some Blalack students from this year talking about what they do in language arts classes.
One reason I like my reading class is because it's very, how do I say this? It has diverse topics that we can talk about. For example, surprisingly, I was able to find a topic called atomic bombs that I was able to study, which I actually do enjoy science, so I can do science in reading, which is cool. Another reason is you can actually learn things about the world when you're also learning about reading. For example, when we're learning about teen activism. Not only do we learn that teens can protest, but we also learn that there's a deeper meaning, that they feel discriminated because they're young and no one believes in them or trusts them because they're young.
My favorite thing about reading is the nonfiction unit we do. We get to learn about different text features such as table of contents, captions, pictures, photographs, and glossaries. In writing, I like formatting the essay and revising it.
What I like best about my reading is I'm able to describe about my book. I'm basically able to tell about the details, my character's personality, his emotions, how he feels, what he's like to other people, this specific person than this other. And what I like about my language arts class is that she's able to help me. I'm able to talk to her if I need help. Like I don't get brushed off. Like, oh no, get this kid. I'm going to help this other one. Nah, she helps everybody, even including me.
What I like best about my reading class is that we get to interact with the other students. Instead of just being isolated behind the screen and not being able to talk to others because we're in quarantine and not being so lonely, we get to actually talk and share our thinking with other students and grow off each other, and we can help each other like know what we got wrong or like know how we can improve.
The thing I like most about my reading or language arts class is for reading class, I like the reading because usually I don't get to read at my house even though I am at home. So I'd like to read in my reading class. I don't usually get to play a lot at home because I have to entertain my brother. But in writing, I like to write words that express my feelings on a piece of paper, not just from my mouth.
The thing I like the best about my language arts class is that we get to work in groups every single day for this week, and it's really fun working with other people.
What I like most about my reading class is that I have the freedom to choose whatever I want to read. I don't get assigned a certain book that I have to read. And whenever there's nonfiction, whenever we're in the nonfiction unit, we get assigned a topic, but we can choose whatever books we want that relate to that topic.
Okay, so why I like my reading language arts class is because when we do reading, it like brings you to a whole nother world. Well, for me, it brings me to a whole nother world, and I like to explore and and find like the deeper meaning of why the author did this, or like I find the like complex theme for this, and I like that I can like relate to the book or what I'm reading.
So now we have a Kahoot game that we're going to play. It's just a short five question quiz that's going to talk about the different misconceptions that people might have about reading and language arts instruction. So please join us. The link is going to go into the chat. It's www.kahoot.it, and then type in this PIN number 1445259. And hopefully we'll have a little bit of fun with this game. Right, let's see if we have any more. All right, I'm going to get it started. If anybody else wants to come in after it's started, you can still join at kahoot.it. All right, Literacy Night 2021, Fact or Fiction. True or false? Students should read for 20 minutes each night. The answer is false. We'll talk more about why in a couple minutes. True or false? Graphic novels are not real books. Oh, split. True or false? Reading on a regular basis will strengthen your mind muscles. Nice job, everyone. Anthony's our leader. That's my student. Students should be allowed to choose the books they'd like to read regardless of reading levels. True or false? Anthony's on fire. And last one, if you're correctly reading the words, you're understanding the text. Here's the podium. Let's see who wins. Jane's in third place. Anthony's in second. Dun-dun-dun. Nevaeh wins. Good job. All right, let's find out a little more about those answers.
Sorry, that was my 10-year-old playing and she's cracking up because she won. So, okay. So true or false? Students should read for 20 minutes each night. This is false. And yes, we did preach this for a long time that we wanted students reading 20 minutes each night, but we would prefer now that they read pages over minutes. So Ms. Thomas, can you help me out? So false, pages versus minutes. So next slide and I'll explain. So any kid can read for 20 minutes. Like my own children, they can set a timer for 20 minutes, but in 20 minutes, they might read 2 pages, right? Because it's like, oh, I read for 20 minutes, but they're like reading at snail's pace. So now we're really encouraging our students to read for pages. So this is just an example of what we do with the students. And I don't necessarily do this with them at the beginning of the year, but as we build into reading, what we do is we time them reading for 10 minutes. And at the end of those 10 minutes, they count how many pages they read. And then they figure out how many pages they should read in an hour. So we do math and language arts class. I always tell them this, we can do math, even though I might have to work on my multiplication table. So we figure out their hourly reading rate. Okay, so once we can figure out their hourly reading rate, we can kind of figure out, okay, how many pages realistically can you read in a week? And what's really cool is a lot of the students try to figure out how long it will take them to read a book. So like, they're like, okay, I'm committed to reading 10 pages a day. My book is 200 pages. So this is how many days it's going to take me to finish my book. Okay. So we definitely, without a doubt, want to push pages over minutes. Now, this is a lofty goal, but realistically, it's 6th grade starting out. A reading zone for the very beginning of the year might be 40 to 60 pages per day. Now that's seems like a lot, but if a student actually sits down and reads committed like to 40 to 60 pages, it doesn't take them as long as they think it, as long as they're staying focused in reading. Now, granted, we have some reluctant readers. Your child might be a reluctant reader, so maybe they want to start off with 10 pages and then they can add to that.
The next question asked, it said graphic novels are not real books, and that was false. So we want to make sure that everybody understands that graphic novels and a lot of other types of books are great for all readers. In fact, they have some of the same themes, some of the same character development, all of that good stuff that we're looking for in books. So, and a lot of them are written at really high reading levels. We have a video to show you that goes into a little bit more detail about this. So let's watch this real quick.
Young readers definitely share their enthusiasm for the lunch lady graphic novels with me, but it's the caretakers, it's the adults in their lives that will pull me aside to say that this was the first book they got really excited about reading, or they'll pinpoint the lunch lady graphic novels as the first thing that that kid read that they got really excited about, and it was the moment that child became a reader. Now, obviously, I speak to a lot of librarians as well, and I guarantee you almost every single school librarian you talk to will have some story somewhere about some well-meaning adult in a child's life who will deny that child access to graphic novels, where they will say, either a parent or a classroom teacher will say to the school librarian, don't let my kid check out another Garfield book, just real books. And, while that, while the intent comes from a very good place, the action is very harmful, because it could be that that's the only reading material that kid is going to read right now. And it could cause serious damage for the trajectory of that child's reading life. There was one parent that I met last year, and I was at a book signing at a conference, and this parent just didn't expect to meet me. She didn't know that I was there. And as I'm signing her lunch lady book, she got very emotional and teared up a little bit. And it took me aback because I had never really had that experience before. I didn't, and I wasn't sure where it was coming from. And she confided in me that she had escaped a very abusive relationship. And she took her daughter, they got out of that home and they got away. And then that child's academic career really began slipping, because that kid just wasn't latching onto anything. Obviously, that child was dealing with a lot of, internal turmoil, but it was the lunch lady graphic novels that got that kid back on track and excited about reading. And for me, I'm the son of a drug addict who was incarcerated. I was raised by grandparents who were functioning alcoholics, but I had Garfield and I had X-Men, and thank God that I did, because those comics got me through some very difficult times. There's one librarian that I met down in Texas who, in response to this adult who said, don't let this kid check out a comic, only real books, she pointed out that, to the parent, when you take your child to the playground, you don't say to that child, you need to get up on those monkey bars for 20 minutes a day. If you want to be a successful player, you have to get up on those monkey bars. You don't do that. You let the child gravitate towards the piece of playground equipment that they're most excited about. Maybe they just really love the swings right now. Just let them go on the swings. And then someday they'll get up on those monkey bars, and they might still just love to swing. I often tell people too, well, yes, graphic novels can get kids excited about reading, but when I hear the term gateway, that to me thinks they're going to leave those behind to move on to other things. And there's no reason why graphic novels and prose novels can't coexist in a child's life. A child can love Charlotte's Web as much as they love Captain Underpants.
I think that's so true. Even as adults, I still love reading graphic novels as well.
Young readers.
We have a lot of myths about reading, and that's kind of the theme of tonight, is talking about different facts versus fictions, or truths versus myths about reading. And I think graphic novels is one of the biggest ones, that they're not real books. And so, of course, he was just explaining some of the reasons why that's a myth. They are full of text. Sure, they have drawings, but there's also just as much stuff there to decode and analyze and comprehend. They have the character development, and you really do need to have reading comprehension skills to get through them. They're also super engaging, especially for those reluctant readers. So we recommend them a lot of the times as jumping off points to get kids really into reading. And like that author was saying, it's not something that you leave behind, but it's something that you just add onto your repertoire of reading and things that you enjoy. And then, of course, they are high quality reading material as well. So here is another video from our students at Blalack, and this one's having kids talk about the different non-traditional books, like graphic novels, that they have enjoyed reading.
Hi, okay, so my favorite non-traditional books to read are comic books, because they are easy to read for me, because I need a visual thing to I don't know, process the book better, I guess, and understand the words more, because the words such clutter up whenever I read chapter books. So that's why I don't read chapter books, but I do like reading comic books like this book. It's a pretty popular book.
Graphic novels are my favorite non-traditional book. I especially like how they have more pictures than normal chapter books. They help me imagine what the story looks like and answer some of the questions that I have, like what exactly do they look like? Is the location dark and scary? I also like the writing style and the fact that it is more interesting than most of the chapter books I read.
Non-traditional books I like to read are graphic novels because graphic novels are a lot easier to read because whenever you're reading like the words, it's separated into different like bubbles and sections and it's like way easier to read. But in chapter books, I can't focus very well and it hurts my head because there's so many words that I can't really read at once. But comic books have pictures and drawings to also help tell the story that can really spark up your imagination of reading.
I like more like graphic novels and comics because they have more like dialogue than, well, they're almost all dialogue than like normal stories, and they're more interesting because they have a lot more pictures and they're easier to read. So like you don't have to spend a lot of time having to read one book. You can read it in one sitting and then you can grab another. Audiobooks, it's just a lot easier to carry them around than carrying a real book around wherever you go. And I really like to read in a lot of places, so I just like to listen to audiobooks.
Oh yeah, I prefer to read things like comic books over like a dictionary or a textbook, mainly because it's fun and it's not going to rip brain cells out of my mind. I prefer to, if I'm going to read, which is already painful enough, have fun while I'm doing it.
My favorite non-traditional books I like to read are graphic novels. And also they're kind of my favorite type of books to read. Mostly because I like to read books that relate to my life. And with graphic novels, I can see pictures of what's happening in the author's lives or their characters. And it helps me think of like ideas I could do in real life that could help with me. And I especially like books like by Raina Tillinger, like Smile, Sisters, and Guts, because they help me realize a lot of things that are happening to me are actually common for a lot of other people.
Audiobook. I like audiobooks because they're easier to read, especially on the go. You could be in your bedroom doing homework or just you don't have the time to actually have a book. So I like audiobooks. They're personally one of my favorites because I do like traditional reading with a book with lots of chapters in it. But audiobooks are very useful and very helpful for people who like to read but don't always have the time to.
Non-traditional reading is very, very cool. It's very, very entertaining, more entertaining than normal books. I can't actually read them because I don't like reading, but I like reading non-traditional books, and that makes me like reading. And it encourages me to read because it's usually some sort of good story. I also like non-traditional books because it's just the storyline. It's easy. It's just easier for me to read in general. It's a lot more entertaining than flipping through a book and reading every single word. But with like a graphic novel or something like that, you like have an actual picture there, but it still tells like a really, really good story. Yeah. So.
So, reading on a regular basis will strengthen your mind muscles. This was true. So, reading on a regular basis not only helps your brain, but it also improves your interaction with other people because it builds those skills of empathy and that relation. So, we talk to kids a lot about building their stamina because building is kind of building your reading practice is very similar to acting like you're about to run a race. It's building that endurance. And so the more you do it, the better you get. And so that is an answer that not a lot of kids like, but is very true. We use it a lot in our classrooms because it does support our kids. By reading more allows them to get better at it. There we go. And as I was saying, is you have to just practice to get better. And that's something that we really push and emphasize with our kids. We want them to practice their reading skills because it does help their brain and it helps that decline in it helps reduce the decline in brain function. There we go.
All right, so number 4, true or false? Students should be allowed to choose the books they want to read regardless of their reading levels. This is true. Now, of course, this is there are limits, but I have a couple of examples of this. I used to teach 6th grade, and I had this really cute little 6th grade boy that bounced into my room on the first day of school, and he had I should have brought it from home, but he had the big autobiography of Hamilton. I mean, this book is like this thick, right? And it's the musical. Well, he loved the musical, right? And so he decided he was going to read the book. I'm telling you, I was like, there's no way. Like, this book's too hard for him. He read that book all year long. And he finished that book. And it took him the whole school year. But had I told him, man, you're not gonna be able to read that book, I would have ruined his excitement for that book. And then just this year, now I teach 8th grade, and I have another student who he struggles with reading. It's very hard for him, but he picked up a fantastic dystopian novel again at the beginning of the year called Scythe. By the way, great book, great series. And he finished the book this week, and now he's starting the second one in the series. And so, and by teacher account, and us teachers are guilty of this, it would be very easy for me to tell him, hey, that's an 8th or 9th grade level. You read on a 5th grade level. But why do that? He took the time to read the book and understand it. And so it's not about a level. Now, there are some books that, of course, if I ask them to, by the way, we don't make kids read dictionaries, just for the record. I was thinking that kid saying that in the video. But all the same, there are books that maybe are outside of their limits, but for the most part, independent reading is not about a level, okay? It's not about a certain number of minutes. It's that reading that we do develop those independent thoughts, and it just makes us better lifelong learners in general. Because guess what? I went to college and I wasn't prepared to read some of these upper level texts that I was required to read, but because I had a foundation of reading skills, I was able to read those books. So it's not about the reading level. We got to be careful not to tell our kids you can't do that when they totally can and prove us wrong.
So question number 5 is, if you're correctly reading the words, you're understanding the text. And that was false. It makes me think back of when I was a kid, I would word call all the time and go into that autopilot phase. And I couldn't tell you what happened in the book. So going back and getting into that reading zone and really being involved in the text is so important. Just because you can say the words doesn't mean you understand what's happening. So it's very easy to see our decline in literacy, and our kids are hesitant to read a lot of the time. And it can be from their technology use. They are inundated with information all the time, and it's in a visual way where they don't have to put in the work. And so having to read, you have to slow down and put in the work. And that's something that a lot of people don't want to do. The distractions can make it hard to focus. So a little bit, yes, I'll go back to it. But yes, distractions. So the tapping, and I know when I'm reading and I hear the tapping or the different noises, I'm looking away too. So having to have that moment where you are in a space that is conducive to your area, or to yours. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. In a space that is conducive to where you can think and provide yourself with focus. Busy schedules. We're all victims of this. We all are very active and very busy. And so I'll just read later. I'll read later, and putting it off, and you never get to it. So just setting aside time, that is so important to that. So sometimes our books have really slow starts. And so you have to take that time to develop it. And then also just making sure that you're providing that time to get better so you can find it interesting, because it's not something that is like, oh, this is so great, I'm done, but you have to put in the work for that. So as I said, perceiving it as a chore instead of enjoyment. Oh, there was one more, sorry. And then it takes effort, yes. We're good. Sorry, Carrie. So our reading zones is what we really push with our kids, is finding a spot that is comfortable but not too comfortable. So where you can be productive, but you're not going to fall asleep. And I know I have kids in my classroom that they like to lay down. So they'll lay under their chairs away from other people. So then that way they can read and be productive during our reading time. Sometimes we read for enjoyment, where it's just no talking, nothing else. We're just reading, no notes, nothing. And then sometimes we do it to think. So where we're taking those notes and we are building those reading skills and being very intentional about what we're reading for versus let me just relax type of thing. No music. Lyrics can be so hard to listen to. So I know I have instrumental music going on because I get distracted with the other rustling of pages, and I know some of my kids do too. But it is straight instrumental just because the words are very distracting and you want to start singing the words instead of reading the words on the page. And reading 20 to 30 pages before deciding a book is boring. So again, is that instant gratification is sometimes books are hard to get into and you have to give them a chance before you just write them off. Working on finishing a book to be successful. Kids, my students, especially in 6th grade, will start a book and they're like, this is boring, and just put it down. And we really work on them trying to find books that they will finish, because then it's like, oh, let me read the next book, or it gets them that excitement and feeling pride in themselves. Building that daily habit. So I know at the very start of the meeting, Miss Grudia said that we want them reading about 40 to 60 pages a day, which seems a ton, but we start early, or we start on the lighter side, so getting 10 minutes in a sitting and then building our way up from there. Listening to audiobooks is always a great resource for our kids. We had that in our slide about non-traditional books, is that does help them a lot. And we have a lot of partnerships and group works in our classes, and this just helps them be accountable, sharing what they're reading, and then also recommending what they're reading. Because if, for example, if Miss Gary was reading a really good book and she told us about it, it would make us all really excited to try to read it. And then it'll also keep Miss Gary accountable to finish her book.
All right, I'm checking the Q&A Padlet, and it looks like we do not have any posted questions, but we also have the chat open if anyone would like to send us some questions.
Also wanted to add really quickly, we're going to show you guys some book trailers, because part of your reward for coming tonight is that you are going to get one of these 2 books for free. So we'll show you those book trailers, but I know some of you missed the very beginning, and we're just so glad that you guys came. But I want to let you know that we are giving your students time to read in class. That's how valuable it is, because we know their schedules are busy. But I would like to challenge you. I have 4 kids. I have 2 that are avid readers. Like I have to be like, put your book down. Like it's time to interact here. But then I have 2 kids who are not as much. And so, if they can read, we get a lot of times, and it's just the nature of the world we live in, but they're like, we're too busy. I got sports. I got this. Read in the car. If they don't get car sick, let them read in the car. Get them those audiobooks. Just as much as you can read in front of them. I know it's hard, because even as a parent, I have to force myself to sit down and read. And I'm going to be totally frank. By the time I sit down at night to read, it's not going to last long, because my brain is tired and I'm going to go to sleep. So I can't have expectations of them that I can't have for myself, right? But as much as you can model reading for them, because I want to tell you that we don't want to see a decline in reading. We want to see an uptick in reading, and we want these students reading because it is shown that it will help them be more successful in life in general. So anyway, I just wanted to add, though, that we value it so much that we're having them do it in class, but as much as they can do it at home. I know most of us don't give homework with the hopes that they will read and write at home. And even if writing goes hand in hand with reading, if your child likes to journal, that's almost just as good as reading too. So I just want to make sure you guys know those go hand in hand as well. So but I'm going to let Carrie talk to us about these books and show us these book trailers.
Thanks, Ms. Grudia. I feel like, too, I should just put in a quick plug for the Carrollton Public Library. because one thing that we've done as a family, because we're in the whole sports situation too, is I download free audiobooks from the library onto my phone. There's an app called Cloud Library. If you go to the public library's website, it gives you all the information for how to do that, and you just put in your library card number and it downloads right to your phone. And you can just keep renewing until you guys finish the book, but you can listen to it as a family in the car and stuff like that. It's just a great opportunity to share that experience too. Okay, free book choices. You get to choose one of these two books. So I'll show these two trailers right now. We've got one graphic novel and then one novel in verse, which means it's written like poetry.
New Kid is the story of Jordan Banks, a future cartoonist. But his mom refuses to send him to the art school of his dreams. And now that everything is new, it will be even harder for him to fit in. New school, the prestigious Riverdale Academy Day, aka RAD. A nice school, a really, really, really nice school. New friends, like Liam. Underneath his pink shirt is a heart of gold. He's been at RAD since kindergarten. And fellow new kid, Drew, math whiz, who's also looking to fit in. Can Jordan survive being one of the few kids of color while keeping his neighborhood friends and staying true to himself? See for yourself in New Kid.
Sorry, I think I pressed enter. I'll start that one over again.
All right. So, by the way, that book, Love That Dog, is a series. The next book is Hate That Cat, which I love cats, but it's okay. But it's a series actually of books that are really great. So, so a couple of things. We are very grateful for you guys for coming tonight and being invested in your kids' education and most importantly, their literacy. If you happen to come in late, we have recorded this meeting and we will share our slides with you guys. Along with this recording of us talking about literacy. So if you were able, if you happen to come in late, no big deal. We would love for you to fill out this Google form for us that is linked. It's in the chat. Miss Gary put it in the chat. And it'll give you a chance to fill in your name, your information, and let us know how we can deliver to you one of the two books, New Kid or Love That Dog. So again, this one's a verse novel. So it's written like poetry, and then New Kid is a graphic novel. So both are great, be great read alouds for you to read with your kids together as a family, or for you guys, for them to read on their own. So we're glad you guys are here. Thank you for coming. Thank you to Dr. Davis, who jumped on here, our principal, for supporting us. But we just appreciate your support, and keep your kids reading, please. But have a great night. We'll stay on for a minute. If you guys have any questions, let us know. If we need to repost that link for you to the Google form, let us know that as well. But we hope you guys have a good night, and thank you guys for coming.